Brandon, welcome.
Yeah, good to see you, Rick.
This is fun. We literally are rolling right into it, so we can get out in time to see the flash mob.
All right, that we're not supposed to know about until it happens.
Well, luckily
By the time this airs,
this is going to be a couple weeks, right? So yeah, so we're obviously here for RSA. This is the first time I actually have Branding on the show. I think it's appropriate because I'm talking to an ad man. So I'm really excited to talk to you today because, obviously you're running Just Global. You're working with a lot of different tech accounts. I'm always getting questioned what's working, not working in the industry, and I think you really have your pulse on that. And I want to dive into that. I want to dive into what Just Global is doing. But real quick, just tell me about your role in the organization you're leading.
Sure. Yeah, I'm the CEO of Just Global, and as the name implies, we're a global B2B agency, and that's all we focus on, Rick, is how we go help grow some of the world's biggest and largest B2B brands, most of them in the tech sector.
Yeah, and then how long have you been there?
So been there for about 12 years, and started when we were about, a dozen folks.
Wow.
All in San Francisco, right here, lovely San Francisco. And since then we've grown to, almost 300 across US, Europe, APAC. Just opened a presence in Japan for the first time in December. Really excited about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of our model, is to be able to take these large B2B brands globally with their marketing and also serve them all of their needs in their local markets as well. We call it glocal. It's a little cheesy.
Glocal. I haven't heard that one.
That's our thing, glocal.
Glocal. I've heard the one that I keep hearing pop up is globally consistent, locally relevant. But I like local better. It's gonna be easier to say.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, you are an ad man. Did you ever think, early on in your life, you'd be running an advertising agency?
I didn't. I guess I don't consider myself an ad man in the traditional sense. I actually started out similar to the roots of Foundry and IDG. I started out as a tech editor and eventually a tech publisher. And it was always about, connecting brands with audiences to help them grow. And so, moving over to the agency world, it's a little bit different in that, you're not just focused on a central group of brands that you work with. From a media standpoint, you kind of have that whole world open to you, and that's really exciting. But the same premise holds true, right? Which is like going out, finding the right audiences that are relevant to the customer and connecting those two things in meaning and impactful ways.
I want to dive a little bit into that because what I found on the show is a lot of time my guests, their background really helps dictate their current perspective and strategy. And I'd love to know more about, especially being a tech editor to publisher to agency, what that transformation was like. But first, I have a little thunder round, so people can get to know you a little bit better. So it's not a lightning round because I end up asking follow-up questions and we actually go kind of slow. So it's like a slow thunder round. All right, 4 questions for you. A favorite hobby outside of work?
Oh my gosh, favorite hobby outside of work? Probably right now it's coaching my kids' lacrosse team.
Oh, cool.
And this is the last year doing it. He's in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And so moving on to bigger and better things. But
last year for you coaching?
Last year for me.
He's going to continue on.
Been doing this since he was, 5-6 years old.
Wow.
And and it's just a great thing to look forward to. And my daughter's really into it too. So
very cool.
Spend a bunch of time with her.
That's awesome.
On that front.
So it sounds like you need a new favorite hobby coming up.
Yeah, that's
All
right. That's right.
Go to daily breakfast.
Oh, okay. Smoothie.
Yeah?
Smoothie or a shake.
Okay.
Kale, blueberries, protein powder, banana.
Love it.
Every single day.
Healthy.
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah. Because I used to not eat breakfast, Rick, right? Or eat breakfast really late.
Oh, don't tell my wife that. She's a big breakfast person.
And, other than the weekends when we always kind of do a bigger breakfast.
Yeah.
But, I believe in it every day. And I believe in giving yourself an internal shower every morning, like waking up, drinking a big glass of water.
I should have had an internal shower this morning because it was a late night last night.
Yeah.
I'm running on coffee right now. Favorite cereal as a kid?
Oh, let's go with Lucky Charms. No, Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
All right.
We weren't really allowed to have sugar-based cereal when I was a kid, so when we could get our hands on a box, we were pretty stoked.
Yeah, I would say mine was Lucky Charms too.
Yeah.
All right, last one. You're out with your team. It's a fun night. You end up at a karaoke bar. What's your song?
Okay, so we this is an internal question we ask sometimes for onboarding.
Oh yeah.
But I'm usually the one asking the question, so I never think about it for myself. And I have a horrible singing voice.
Yeah.
So I'll usually go with some type of like 80s hip hop type of
80s
thing.
hip hop.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Got an
maybe like a
example?
little Tone Loc or Slick Rick, something
There you
along
go.
those lines.
All right. That's great. All right, cool. So I want to go back to your story because like, were you studying journalism? How did you become a tech editor? And then, really, how did that transition to the sales marketing side and how'd you end up at an agency?
Yeah. So, gosh, I don't know how interesting it is, but I go way back in publishing. So my family actually had a print publishing business of B2B tech magazines.
Get out of here.
And must have started and launched, I don't know, 10 of them over about 20 different years. And so I just kind of grew up in the business from, emptying the trash cans in the office when I was 10 years old to selling back-a-book, what they called back-a-book ads, the classified ads in high school as a summer job, to doing like layout of the actual print brand where you actually like used to glue in frames on a page before it'd go to print.
You were born into this.
And so I was kind of born into it. So my goal in life was always to become a publisher, I guess, following the footsteps. And so that's what I wanted to do. So when I graduated college, I went to school for business entrepreneurialism, and I said, all right, if I want to become a publisher, I really have to learn the business. So I purposely kind of started on the editorial side because I wanted to get to know the industry. I wanted to get to know the product, and I wasn't a very great editor, Rick. I was kind of a hack, but I got by, and I still have some old magazines that I was published in and all that stuff.
That's cool.
But what happened is like online came along, right? And publishers started moving from print brands to digital. And so I was like one of the first editors on the team that started originally, we'd take like the print editorial and we just turn it into, that became like the website, right? You just poured over the content. But then eventually we started building our own fresh content online. And that really got me interested in the digital thing. And so kind of grew up with that, worked on the sales side, became a publisher overseeing a bunch of brands. And then I saw a lot of shifts taking place in the market, did that for many years and decided to go try something new. And that's kind of when I got into the agency world.
And what was your role at the agency when you came over?
I was president.
Oh, wow. So straight in at the top.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, and you must have seen massive change. I mean, you mentioned started with a dozen employees and now you're a global operation. What's that transformation been like under your leadership at Just Global?
Right. Long, hard, and very rewarding. And very rewarding. Look, it's a because you've grown up in this stuff as well and you've seen it. There's just been massive evolution. Just look at the past 10 years, right? Even 10, 12 years ago, we were kind of traditional media planners and buyers, right? There was some search, there was some social. People didn't know what programmatic was, and so we spent a lot of time evolving into really deep digital chops and expertise, and early on in the shift of the data sets. Right, in the rise of data and different ways to target audiences and to identify different buying behaviors and intent behaviors, and so we've kind of been about always trying to stay at the forefront of what the market's doing in the B2B marketing world.
And it continues to evolve. I feel like every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to your past. Working as a publisher, working in the business, tech editor, how do you feel like that's kind of shaped your current perception of marketing strategies and running an agency?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say I still have massive respect and still believe in content and journalism, right? It's just massive. And, you want to attract the right audience, you build the right content for it. And so I still have a lot of respect for those brands that still take that seriously.
Yeah.
And the way we're consuming media as human beings has massively evolved from what it was. And even just the bookmark the site and go there every day doesn't happen as much, right? The way we're accessing content is completely changed, and it's changing in front of us, right? From results in a search engine to now like AI generated results taking you in completely different directions.
What are your thoughts on that in terms of, going back to, being an editor in control of the content, connection with your audience, and all of a sudden you have AI that's creating content? Like, how do you juxtapose the two?
Yeah. Look, I think we could have a whole conversation around AI, but it is a great tool for content and content creation. And like, I don't think we should be afraid of it. We should be embracing it. And what it does is it helps with speed, right? It helps with speed, but you still need a human being to make it read well, to make it interesting, to position it in the right way, to have the intelligence of the broader market context. So I think the two together become very, very powerful. Like I can tell you this, when I was starting out as an editor, if I had some of the tools available today, I would have loved it because it just would have sped your time to results and you could have produced more.
Focus on what you really want to be doing, right?
Yeah,
makes sense. So Just Global is working with some of the best, well-known tech companies out there. You basically have, your pulse on the industry. What are you seeing? Like, what are some of the top trends, challenges, opportunities out there right now?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on in this market. We went from years of, growth as the metric to efficiency with growth.
Yeah.
And a lot of these big tech brands, I mean, it's no secret, right? They've had cuts. They've taken a different approach. They're reorganizing their organizations. Really, over the past 2 years now, we've seen this taking place. And I think when the market shifted from just growth at all costs to efficiency, managed growth, we definitely saw a big move to focus kind of on that last mile of demand gen and performance marketing, which is obviously really key for any marketer. That said, I think a lot of brands learn that if that's all you're doing, you're going to have a product of diminishing returns over time, and you're not actually going to see long-term growth. And so in 2024, I say heading into 2024, we're like a third of the way over, a third of the way through it now.
Don't remind me.
Which is crazy. We are having way more like the hottest thing is like brand gen or brand to demand or phrases like that, full funnel marketing, on how we're not just focusing on those last mile conversions, how we're really engaging at the top of the funnel in more unique and creative ways to help all of that performance activity perform better, right? Because if you think about it, everybody has access to the same tools, right? Everybody can optimize like crazy in Google. Everyone has the same targeting capabilities in LinkedIn. Everybody can go work with Foundry and make really intelligent buys and buy leads and engage on your sites. But that's not going to differentiate you as a brand, and it's not going to help you generate share of mind and share of voice among the target audience. So doing those upper funnel activities like video and audio and thinking about how your buyers consuming media and content and going and meeting them there is a big thing now. But it's showing the impact that stuff has on performance and on revenue. And that's where all these amazing, exciting things are happening.
A lot to dig in there. So that's fantastic. And I saw you recently, because I'm a LinkedIn stalker, like most sales pros. So I think you reshared a post about the difference between demand gen and lead gen, and I thought that was just fascinating. Do you want to share a little bit more about your thoughts on that difference, or maybe the debate there?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that big of a thing, but like, there was someone just posted, oh, what's the difference between demand gen and lead generation? And I just said, look, I think of lead generation as like a guaranteed lead program. You pay X, you get X leads. Really, we should call them inquiries, right? Where demand gen is a broader practice of how do we go generate demand for our brand, which could happen in many different ways.
Yeah, and that's the way we're kind of looking at it too, right? And I think it's full funnel branded demand, whatever you want to call it. Like you're generating demand in the market, and output could be a lead of that, right? But that's one of many key metrics.
Yeah.
So I love to talk about the attribution side of things and where data plays a role, because I know a lot of marketers out there have struggled with that in terms of, I'm running brand, what type of impact is this having on the leads I'm generating, or the demand outputs that I'm looking at? So how do you, as an agency, approach, utilizing data, looking at attribution, cross-channel planning? How does it all come together?
Yeah. So it's really interesting, right? I think there's been more scrutiny on things like marketing budgets. You're seeing folks like finance get much more involved, boards much more involved for approval. You're seeing longer budget cycles and things like that. And while you have the business folks or the finance folks going, okay, it makes sense, we need to do like full funnel marketing. I mean, even just in the past week, I've had several conversations with those teams that are like, okay, if we spend this, how much revenue is it going to generate for us? And when are we going to see that? And so, and there's no like perfect answer to that, right? However, there's a lot of different ways and things and techniques you can do to start to show the power of this upper funnel activity that it has on your performance and your down funnel metrics. And but everybody's looking for like the silver bullet, and one doesn't really exist. So it's really interesting conversations when you're getting into modeling, and if we spend this, how many like landings it's going to generate to the site, and what's it going to do. And what I always tell customers is, look, like we can model these things out, but there's a couple things that need to happen. One is we have to start to shift focus from only looking at metrics on a quarter by quarter basis to a much longer period. So it's not just those leading indicators of how many leads did we generate in the quarter and what pipeline did that deliver. Really important things, right? And marketing is on the hook to deliver a number, so they have to deliver those things. That said, if you want to generate long-term growth, you're going to think more broadly, and you're going to take a step back, and you're going to start to look at macro level data and macro level trends. Well, actually, can I get the folks that are, I'll use Google as an example, because Google's benefits from getting last touch conversion on so many things, right? Because people go to Google and they search XYZ brand, they go to the site, and it's thanks Google for sending us another lead.
Right.
But you're not thinking about the 15 things that led up to that, right? So one of the things we like to do is measure when someone is exposed to a video on connected TV, or someone listens to a podcast or an ad of our clients. We can actually connect that viewership to the impact it's having on things like your Google conversions. And guess what? No big shocker. People who are exposed to more upper funnel media, guess what? They convert at a much higher rate through things like Google search. Even the same with within a platform like a LinkedIn, right? A lot of people use lead forms. Great source of generating leads. Guess what? When you run like brand or video messaging with your lead ads, guess what? Your lead ads convert at a higher rate. Yeah. The data shows that. And then there's working with partners like yourselves, where you have these amazing iconic brands like your T-shirt CSO and CIO and Network World, and these brands that are destinations that offer these brand experiences and also offer ways to go engage and generate leads. So, what we try to do is take all these different, publishers, social, search, all these different data sets, and try to build a universal picture of this data to look at universally. And I know I'm rambling about this, but this also leads me to talking about account level measurement and metrics. And I think that's the other thing that's starting to change the game from a brand to demand or a full funnel approach, is starting to talk the language of sales in your metrics. It's not about reach, impressions, and click-through rates. It's, look, if we have a list of 10,000 accounts that we're going after, what percentage of those did we engage with that saw our video ads through a connected TV? What percentage of those came to our website? Then you're starting to connect the data and go, all right, look, are these accounts like starting to entering the pipeline? Are they entering the sales process? and starting to look at that account level data to make that connection between the brand and ultimately what's happening through to pipeline and revenue.
I mean, that's, from my perspective, that's unbelievable. Just the way to look at that and the possibility of what that can do. What are some of the challenges you think that as an industry we still got to figure out to kind of get to that next level of what we need to deliver for clients?
Look, data is still so siloed from a media activation standpoint, right? You have what are called the walled gardens, that, you know, where the activity is happening within that platform or within that certain channel. Then you have open web tools, different programmatic tools like a trade desk that give you access to like all this different types of inventory. So the biggest challenge is how are we connecting all these disparate data sets from all these different sources that don't like to always play nice together.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's no perfect like silver bullet yet that connects all those things. Although there's some platforms and technologies that are coming along that are helping to normalize that stuff and stitch all the pieces together. So it's really exciting.
That was actually my next question, is like, where's this going next? And so those platforms are going to help kind of break down those walls, it sounds like.
That's right. And we've, you know, we have this platform we call Thea.ai, and it's built on top of the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But basically, it's like a B2B design tool where we're taking data from all these disparate sources and we're putting it into a singular view. And then we're building that account level view and all those connection points so that we can help our customers tell our marketing customers tell the story internally on the impact that this stuff is having on their business.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, the reporting side of it is, I think, key. And I think in my experience working with an agency, not only just the planning of doing something effective, but also reporting back, like, let's see what the success looks like. What did we learn? What did we not learn? I mean, that's like a big service that agencies provide.
Absolutely. And how we do that is changing too through things like Gen AI. Right. So we're very much actively testing different secure tools, but different AI tools where we can come in and look at data sets and actually have the Gen AI go help develop insights and tidbits that either took you days and days to do manually or that humans just couldn't catch.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about the storytelling side of things. So I know in B2B, it's not always the most exciting thing, right, that we're trying to tell a story about. So, you know, how does your agency help clients tell a better story, to make it engaging, to make it exciting? Like what's some advice that you have for marketers out there that are just looking to spice things up a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think every customer is unique, and for us, it's important to go in and understand like what makes that client tick from like what type of results they want to see that are meaningful to the business that they can pass on. And so understanding that what you know, how things get approved through the board, how things get approved through e-staff, what type of data they're looking at is really important. So we can tell that kind of higher level macro story for our clients. At the same time, we also get very much in the weeds and down to like a channel by channel, campaign by campaign basis, so that we can also tell the very specific optimization story for our clients to show improvement over time. But I think going in and having a strong measurement plan up front is what it's about. And to have that, like I said, you need to understand, you know, how an organization works, and then build a plan that's reflective of that.
So speaking to, you know, how organization works, you know, a lot of marketers that listen to the show do work with agencies or thinking about it. Like, what advice do you have for them on the best way to work with an agency? Like, how are people utilizing agencies the right way, and then maybe the wrong way that they should be thinking about to get more value out of that partnership?
Yeah. So it's a very cliche term, but our customers who treat us as an extension of their team and we're part of their team, it's 100% where we get the best.
Yeah.
We get the best results. We have very open dialogues. If there's issues, we tackle them together. If there's triumphs, we celebrate together. You know, we have clients where our team spends a couple days a week in their offices in different regions, right? sometimes we get to know a client's business better sometimes than their internal teams. Because I mean, even if you just look at the turnover in the market, sometimes we're lasting longer than the CMO and the VP of marketing did.
Yeah.
And so like that's where we do our best work, where we're not treated as like a vendor, we're treated as part of that team. And it's all about the relationship.
Yeah, is that an educational process that you sometimes have to, when you're onboarding a partner, to be like, this is the way that you got to treat us or work with us to kind of get the value out of that? I mean,
yeah.
A lot of this sounds like education from my standpoint, going back to just, the full funnel approach too, or we got to extend this quarterly to more annual scopes, right? I mean, it sounds like a lot of time you're just educating the partners.
You're educating them. You're also, when you're talking to a new prospect, they're trying to get a feel for you. They're trying to understand how you operate, what your capabilities are. At the same time, you're trying to get a feel for them and understand how they operate. And what I like to do and what we like to do is just have very blunt, direct conversations up front and go like, if this is what you're looking for, if you're looking for, just like a vendor or someone just go execute this, like we're not the right partner. Go find someone else. As a matter of fact, I'll give you 5 names to go talk to that you'd probably be better off with. But if you're looking for someone who you want to sit down with, be more strategic, who can also execute at a really high level, we're going to be a great fit for you.
Yeah, it makes sense. Just being selective with who you're letting in to spend your time on. What trends are you seeing in the B2B agency space? Because I know last 10 years, especially, a lot of agencies have seen the opportunity with B2B, have tried to become B2B agencies. Just what trends are you seeing in the agency landscape?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can talk about what's worked for us. And we're lucky enough. I think last year we were in the top 15th percentile of agent growth agencies. Wow. And we've won some great awards in the past years and things like that. That said, like, of course, we're never going to rest on our laurels. But look, some of the biggest trends, I think, as new technologies, new channels emerge, you always see the rise of the specialists, right? You see we're the social media agency, or we're the ABM experts, or we're the creative specialists, right? Where what we see with a lot of clients is, look, they want best of breed across all those things. And the more they can centralize those under one roof, the better. So we've worked really hard to build out global capabilities across full funnel media, from global brand campaigns through to like hardcore performance media, around creative and content, so we can help with messaging and actually get creative that delivers from a performance standpoint, from deep analytics to measure everything, through cohesive strategies or connected experiences that pull that all together. And so I think, like, we've seen that, at least with our clients, as a trend to consolidate a little bit more into singular partners as some of these things become more mainstream. So, I can go to a single place and I can have a partner that can work with me globally across a variety of channels, from one-to-one ABM through to one-to-many activations. I think has suited us well, that we've gone down that path.
Well, I think you've definitely had the foresight, because here we are, the market is really focused on full funnel, and you've built an organization that's positioned well for full funnel type activations.
Yeah, and sometimes that takes convincing to a client too, because you have to show that you are good at all these things, not just one of them. We'll get the question all the time, well, what's the one thing you're good at? And what we say is, like, B2B.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're good at. Like, we've worked so hard, and our entire DNA is around B2B and helping B2B brands grow. So that's what and on a global basis. So that's what we see as our specialty.
So what's next? Like, what has you most excited or fired up, whether it's in B2B industry or with Just Global?
Yeah, I think, look, the evolution of data and measurement is massive. I mean, you can't talk about what's next without talking about AI. Again, It's like the most over talked about thing, but truly, like, AI is changing the game across every single discipline for us. I mean, our creative and content teams are at the forefront of this stuff. Just about every single thing we create, with approval from the client,
Yeah.
is leveraging very safe and secure AI tools. You know, things like machine learning are already built into a lot of these platforms, but what we think is interesting is the Gen AI side and what that can do for media. Like, think about it, Rick. We're sitting on top of a massive amount of knowledge and data across all of the publishers, social media networks, programmatic platforms, search platforms. We have all this data in. So now we're looking at how we can go take all this data, layer on a Gen AI tool on top of it to go help our team like plan and build models faster and faster than ever before. So it's changing every single, and on the analytics front, like I talked about before, right? So it's changing every single aspect of our business, and it's speeding time to market, and it's allowing for better performance, and it's creating more personalization, and it's doing all these things. And we still need humans to be the drivers and making sense and running all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me, I was at a B2B summit last year, and there was a quote I've heard, and I keep hearing it pop up, but it's, AI is not going to replace marketers, but marketers that utilize AI will replace marketers that don't.
Right.
And I've heard
AI is not going to take your job. People who know how to use AI.
And I think it's just so true, and it's becoming evident. And I think that the organizations and the people that are diving in, playing with it, figuring it out, they're going to be so far ahead of the ones that are not.
Yeah. But you have to navigate the security concerns. You have to navigate the waters. You have to do it in a safe way. But there's some amazing tools out there, even like Adobe Firefly, which you're going to get safe. You're not going to have any copyright issues.
Yeah.
But what those tools allow you to do is like, it's insane. It's incredible. It makes it so fun to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Getting to access this stuff.
I love it. All right. So this is fascinating. I think we're going to head over to RSA soon. Check out some stuff there. One last question for you. And that's, what advice do you want to leave for people on the road?
Oh, advice for people on the road.
It can be anything. It could be personal, spiritual, work-related.
Look, I think a big thing, and I was having dinner with a client last night, and we were talking about this. We're both experienced folks and have been around. And the big thing is, like, stay curious, right? Stay curious. Don't start thinking you know everything. Keep paying attention to what's out there, right? Keep looking at the possibilities, look at other people's opinions, read. I'm a big research geek. Like, I eat that stuff up. I have like a file that's research that goes back like 10 years that has just massive amounts of papers and studies, and I pay attention to that stuff. My team will know I'm like shooting it out there on our internal platforms all the time. Did you see this nugget? And this just surpassed this in media consumption. And it's like, just staying curious and not acting like you know everything that's how, like, we're going to continue to be successful as an agency, and I think as individuals.
Well, I love it. It's a very humble way to look at the world, and obviously one that keeps you very sharp. So, Brandon, cheers.
Yeah.
Here's to staying curious, and thanks for coming on the show.
I'll get the logo. Yeah. All right. Cheers, Rick. Thanks for having me, man.